So, good morning, everybody. Today we're going to be focusing on our ears quite a lot. So, if you can have a window cracked, or obviously be outside if that's at all possible. And Jacinth, hello! Didn't see you there at first. Hi. Sorry, I didn't say hello. Um, yeah, we will be focusing on our ears and listening to sounds. Get yourself set up in a nice position. Crack your window if you can. If not, it's okay. But if you can, that's great. And oh, it's the first pileated I've seen. Um, I feel like the birds are so active today, and I'm just wondering if it's because they all know there's a storm coming tomorrow, because there's just been a ton out this morning. So anyway, I'll try not to get distracted by birds anymore. So, all right. So wherever your feet are, I want you just to imagine that there is a connection between you, the soles of your feet, and the earth. And the earth is all around us, but just imagine that those soles of your feet are sending a big taproot down into the earth as if you were a tree. So just feeling deeply, let yourself feel the soil, feel the coolness maybe of the earth right now as you wander down. And then allow the nourishment and all the nutrients from the earth to come back up through the soles of your feet into the rest of your body. And as you do that, just start to notice your breath, notice your posture, notice your heart rate. Don't change anything in this moment, but just let yourself feel it. Let yourself just feel how your body is right now as it receives the nourishment from the earth. And on your next exhale, just let all the air out as much as you possibly can, kind of forcing it out. And then take a nice deep breath in, and this time again, receive the nourishment from the earth. Sorry, that's my neighbor. Hi. Just letting that travel up into your body. And now this time, since you've already taken stock of your posture, your breath, and your heart rate, this time go ahead and make any adjustments if you want to. If you want to sit up a little bit taller, if you want to take a deeper breath, more full and complete breath. All right, nice work. And so now, as you're just allowing your breath to go into its natural rhythm, allowing it to fill in more space than maybe it had before inside of your body. Now that you have the nutrients, the nourishment coming up from the earth, allow that to really just work its way all throughout your body, every cell, let it be touched by that nourishment. And now go ahead and find a point off in the distance to look at. Something you can focus your eyes on. It's, I don't know, maybe like a football field away or so, maybe a little bit less than that. It doesn't have to be so far away, maybe half a football field. Just make sure you have one point that you're going to be focusing on and looking at. And then once you've got your point, and you're allowing your breath to go into its natural, steady rhythm, allow your eyes to soften and your gaze just to expand in all directions. So it's going to stretch as far as you can possibly see from the right and the left, and then up and down. And don't forget the corners as well. Just really expanding and see how far in all those directions you can stretch your vision while you're still looking forward at that one point. And sometimes what happens is when you're really getting into this, your vision starts to get awfully blurry. And just see if you can allow yourself to just go with that. Don't fight the need to have things be clear. Allow the blur. And as you do this, you can begin to notice any subtle movements on the landscape. And if your eyes are drawn or attracted to one of the movements, you can go ahead and look at that and focus on it for a moment, and then do your best to bring your attention back to the softened gaze again. And just notice if anything's changed with your heart rate or your breath after going into owl eyes, which is what this softened vision is called by some people. Good morning, Linda. Didn't see you before. And this morning, we don't always focus on this, but this morning I'd like you to take a nice deep breath in with the intention of smelling the air. So just notice, how is the air around you unique or different from the last time you were attentive to what it smelled like? And something else you can do right now is, I know I asked you to first look at one point, but you can start to shift your gaze and look in other directions, but try your best to keep your eyes in that softened gaze as you look around. And just allow your intuition or your curiosity draw your eyes. So rather than your mind and thinking what you should be doing, just let your curiosity guide you. Good work. So continue to stay in this softened gaze as you're looking out. Now we're going to tune into our ears if you haven't already. We're going to start by bringing our awareness to the sounds that are behind us. So listening for any sounds, whether they're human-made or made by nature. Go ahead and just notice what sounds are behind you. And are you able to hold that tension between what your eyes are gazing at in front of you and what your ears are listening for behind you? And just notice if there's any feeling or emotion that comes up when you hear the sounds and when you're just being present right now. We'll do this for every direction that we listen to. And just notice if there's a feeling that arises, not a thought about the feeling, but just a feeling. Okay, and now we're going to send our attention to, well, I was going to use a cardinal direction, but that might mess you up because I said behind you first. So let's go to our right. So listen to the sounds over to your right and just stretch your ears. See how far out on the landscape or in your home, through the walls, you can listen. Just noticing if any feeling or emotion arises when you're listening in that direction. Good work. And now we'll go over to our left, just exploring the landscape with your ears over to your left, listening for whatever draws your curiosity right now. Okay, great. And now you can match your eyes with your ears and listen to the sounds that are in front of you. And just noticing what emotion arises for you as you're listening and looking in that direction. Wonderful. So you were able to take stock of the various sounds in the landscape all around you. Don't forget about above and below as well. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to listen on the landscape, ideally for bird sounds. It's okay if there are not any bird sounds right now. And I want you to listen for, if you can find a song, that's wonderful. If there's no birds singing right now and they're just talking, if they're calling out there, that'll work too. And I want you just to listen to one particular voice, if you can find one voice out there singing. And I want you, as if, sometimes when you meditate, some people count. They count their breaths. They might count their heart rate. And so what we're going to do is we're going to listen to the bird song or sounds, and we're going to count. So if there's a bird singing a particular rhythm, I just want you to count the number of beats in that rhythm and just notice where the pauses are, and then count the rhythm. And we're just going to use that as our metronome. And sometimes you might have a bird who sings for a few moments and then it gets quiet and another bird starts to sing. And that's wonderful. So you can just allow yourself to listen to the various voices on the landscape. And we're going to stay in silence for a while longer than we usually do today. And again, if you don't have any birds talking or singing, I want you just to listen for the next closest thing, whatever it might be. Maybe it's the wind, maybe it's your radiator, whatever it is. Allow yourself to find the rhythm of that and just let yourself count it. 1, 2, 3, and then bring yourself back each time. All right, so we'll go in silence right now, and I'll let you know when we're done with this period. Nice work, everybody. So we can continue on with this. And some of you may prefer to have your eyes closed during this to allow yourself to just deepen this part of your practice. So feel free if you want to close your eyes. Others may enjoy looking around as you're listening and counting the sounds that you're hearing. So whatever your preference is this morning, you can go ahead and do that, and we'll spend another nice long period of time in silence. Okay, if your eyes were closed, you can slowly bring them back open. And just take the next moment or two to offer a blessing or gratitude to those ones that you interacted with today, the ones you heard, the ones you watched. I was going to try and show you there were two red-shouldered hawks that were just flying over. I heard the crows hollering. Oh, there's one. I don't know if you guys can see it. No, it's going. Sorry. I think they're in their pair bonding activity right now, and they weren't vocalizing, but they were just flying over. So exciting. Well, thank you everyone for coming. If you need to head out, please just know I'm grateful that you are here. And if you want to stay for our chat, you're welcome to stay because we always do a little bit of chatting afterwards. So thank you, thank you. So yeah, I'd love to hear from folks how that was for you. If anything came up for you, you noticed anything, whatever it may be. If you want to share, just wave your hand. Yeah, Anne, please.
Um, I've been off the bird sit for a while because I've been holidaying. Um, but whatever window I was looking at, it's kind of breezy here, and I'm trying to focus. And the pine trees, are in the way, going, pay attention to me, which is how it's been like for the past month. Everybody's scrambling for attention and excitement, and it's like, no, I need to calm down. But the pine trees are fluttering, saying, pay attention to me. So it was a little distracting.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that's awesome. I get that. Like, I don't know if you were, I think you were speaking of like family and friends and things like that. Like,
Yeah,
you're like,
holidays, yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
holidays. Like, everyone needs you to pay attention to them, right? And then,
Mhm.
yeah, now the trees are like, hey, don't forget about me.
Yep. So
I'm here
I'm here
too.
today. I'm here for everybody.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah. You're welcome, Kathy. Yeah. Thanks, Anne. Mm.
Hmm.
All right, Marcia, please.
Yeah, I'll say something. I came outside because it's chilly, brr. So last minute, and I usually walk across the street to open desert field, but we had the hurricane or the tropical storm, so it's growing up with lots of plants, which is a good thing. But my little spot where I put my chair is not as easily accessible, and I don't want to trample and make a new path that there's, been one. So I last time and this time I just came out on my deck.
Mm.
The only thing I could hear were the cars, and there were no birds, no anything. And then finally behind me there was, and then like a raven went over. But something interesting also happened is just at the end, the hospital is not too far from me. And we live in a small community. I live in Ridgecrest, California. It's about 25,000 people. So if anything major happens, people are air evac'd out, flowing out. And it just made me think because the helicopter took off, and I always say a prayer or something for the people who are in the helicopter. And it either goes straight or it does this kind of 90-degree turn. So they go to Loma Linda or they go to Bakersfield, depending upon air and route. Sometimes they have to take transport on the ground. But, we get so awed at animals that make shells or that make, protective things. And I often think if a big, like somebody was looking down at us through a microscope, that, I get in a car, it's my shell, it's my protection to take me someplace. And the helicopter just did the same thing. And it is a flying object. And so, I know that people would go, oh my, and I put something up on one of the nature sketch journaling things once about I saw tracks in the sand and I didn't know what exactly they were. But I do know that sometimes these humans get into a vehicle that cleans the sand and whatever. And I got some interesting responses. But, one person was really, very serious, like, well, that's, the car or the vehicle, but they really do clean the sand. So we have created these shells to fly and to clean the sand. And I sometimes think we forget that we are, our footprints are also part of nature.
Yeah,
Anyway.
absolutely. Absolutely, Marcia. Yeah, thank you for that. I mean, it is good to remember. That's why I always try to encourage folks not listen to the human sounds when we're out here. I know our intention is to be with the birds and listen to the birds, but it's we're a part of the world. And so
Yeah, and it's amazing. It comes from the earth.
yeah.
We're making our own nest in different ways, good, bad, or indifferent. I'm not saying, but yeah. Anyway, it was just interesting. So, and one little
Yeah.
bird went by. Now there's two birds up there, and I don't know what they are, but
Awesome.
I think they're ravens. So anyway, it's been pretty silent, which is kind of weird, but it's very chilly.
Yeah.
Anyway,
All right.
Happy
Thank
New
you,
Year,
Marcia. Yeah,
everybody.
thank you. You too. Happy New Year. Awesome. Yeah, I think it's just fine to be in awe of ourselves, of the human world, We do some pretty miraculous things for sure. Anyone else want to share their experience? I know while you're thinking of your own, for me, I was keyed in because my neighbor, by coming out here every week, I start to notice the patterns of this micro environment around me. And I know that before I come out, the business next door does their leaf blower. And I'm always a little worried. I'm like, oh, is that going to be turned off by the time I go out? And it always is. They always start about like, I don't know, like 10 after, and they're finished by 20 after or so. Um, and then my neighbor, he always leaves around 10 minutes or so into our bird sit. And you all got to hear him leave today. Probably he has a big, those big trucks. Um, but I've never heard his dogs before, and I think he always leaves them out there. But today they were just kind of agitated and sort of like maybe playing with each other. I'm not sure. So it just made me curious because as soon as we started listening, they started sort of making these like grumbly kind of funny sounds. And then what I started noticing was that off in the distance, I could hear this very high pitched, like mechanical sound. It was like an electrical sound of some sort. And it just made me wonder, like, has that always been here? Or am I just hearing it now because I'm listening in a different way? And what I realized was that, like all the other sounds I was tapping into this morning, I feel like they all have some sort of a breath, like there's a pause. There's some kind of a pause in most sounds that, come from the natural world. But this human made sound over here didn't have a pause. And I just wondered, like, what does that do to us over time if it's something that we always hear and there's no pause in it, there's no breath, because almost everything, the wind, the bird song, even the cars, I have to say, that go by, I feel like there's still a breath in the car, it's just like, woo, and it goes, and then, or they put the brakes on and then the gas, and then a lot of things have that breath and that pause in the breath, but this sound didn't. It just got me curious about it. I had never heard it before, so yeah. And I don't know, it was an interesting way to listen today. It brought me deeper into the landscape around me in a way that I didn't expect. So it was interesting for me. All right, anyone else want to share their experience? Yeah, Della, go for it.
Well, I guess for Christmas, my gift to the birds, and more for me, I guess, is a window feeder. And it's right behind my computer, right here, just about 2 feet from me on the window. And I have the seeds in it. But the birds have not broken the code, or I haven't broken the code yet. So I'm trying to lure them in. So this morning I have some empty hands, ceramic, and I put mealworms in and set it out on the sidewalk or the pathway next to the window. So I'm hoping to bring in birds. Well, I did. I brought in crows, but they can't get in the little window feeders. So anyway, we'll see what happens. But the crows, I was listening to them, and they announce, when they find food, it's like caw, 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 caw. It's four blasts, and that seems to be the code for their mealworms. Here's the location. It's a new location today.
Wow, that's awesome, Della. Well done on that, on cracking the crow code. Um, yeah, that's something I've tried to listen for, after getting to hang out with and talk with George Buman a bit. Some of you folks might know George from, I think it's a Yellowstone Life or something like that. I forget the name of it. Yeah, yeah. And he was on the festival a couple times a couple years ago, and we've hung out just in person before. But gosh, I mean, by living in Yellowstone, he was a guide in Yellowstone for many years. That's just what he did, is he was always listening to nature, and so he really tapped into the language of the ravens there and got to do just what you did today, Della, by oh, those are two bald eagles. Wow, everyone's pairing up today. So cool. Um, he really got to decipher their language and would know that like certain numbers of calls mean certain things, certain type of vocalizations mean certain things. And so yeah, that's something that I always was trying to do with the crows at my house as well, was to see if I could figure out their code. Yeah, so awesome work, Della, on that one. All right, any last ones before we head out? Please, Julia. Yeah.
Well, it's cold and raining, rainy and windy. So the rain is just really pounding down, and nobody's out, including me. We're all hunkered into some shelter, and I would love to be able to see where the birds are hiding out. And one nice thing that happened, I got a nice Christmas gift from my older daughter. It's a Bird Buddy bird feeder. And this is one with the camera. Well, and she linked herself to be notified too. And so she's all excited about seeing these birds at my feeder. And that's the most fun thing, that she's excited about seeing birds. Now, I've had about 1 million house finches, but early on we had some really interesting ones, some nice ones that you don't always see. And a cardinal showed up and so on. So, but anyway, that's my news. But I really would love, I mean, it must be in some holes in branches, or, where even though they can shed the water, still I wouldn't want to be pounded on, by the rain. So I'd love to see where they are.
I know. That's always one of my desires. I feel like there's times where I wish I had a little bit more of the John Muir Laws spirit, which is, like just go out there in the storm, or like John Muir, like any of those people who literally John Muir, and John Muir Laws, but like any of those people who just would follow their curiosity even in the storm to see, who was it? There was someone else, there was an article I read years ago where some naturalist got really curious. Maybe it was in his book, I forget, it was in this person's book, where they got really curious about where the chickadees sleep at night. And I think they saw some chickadees go into a tree. And so at night they climbed up with a headlamp up this tree and then shone the light in there. And there was this little huddle of chickadees. There was 5 or 6 of them, I guess, huddled all together in the tree. They got to see it. And so I feel like to know those kinds of things, we have to brave the wilds a little bit, and I'm not always willing to do that when it looks wild and windy and crazy out. And but there are times where I will, like at night, like I'll watch and I'll see like how long can I see where that bird is going. But I feel like I'll see like they're like pre-roost, you know, and then I feel like as soon as it gets dark, they always go somewhere else, you know, or I miss that moment. But sometimes I've been able to see it. But it's a really fun exercise to try to follow the birds, you know, and see where they're hunkering down. I love that into intention, Julia. Yeah. And it's funny because I actually was approached by the Bird Buddy folks like a year ago or so when they were first kind of getting their stuff together to see if I would promote their product. And I looked at it online just to, you know, I want to see what it is before I promote it. And I said, listen, I said, I have a little bit of feedback for you guys, you know, before I would feel really good about promoting it. And I said, one is I would love it to not be made of plastic, obviously. But two, I said, I think your camera idea is excellent. I think they're probably basically like a camera company, and they've come up with like an awesome idea. I said, but it only holds like this much bird food, you know? And I'm like, so the birders are gonna have to go out there like every 5 minutes and like refill it. I said, just make it bigger, you know? Like this is gonna be amazing. I said, just make it bigger so you can fit more birdseed in there. So
Well,
I'm hoping that they do.
this has a pretty good hopper. I haven't had to refill it. I have gone out because I wanted to attract other birds besides the house finches. I've put some, you know, more fun food, you know, like the worms and suet bits and things like that, you know, winter things like that. I've topped it off with that, but it has a pretty good hopper. And mine also has a little solar roof to power the camera.
Oh, that's a cool idea. Maybe they have different options because I have a friend, actually Della's sort of niece in a sense, just got one of those, and she was telling me about it, and she's like, I know there's only like this much food it holds, so maybe they have some different sizes. But she's loving the camera aspect of it. It's so fun to see who comes, and I didn't know you could share it with people. That's so cool that multiple people can look at it. That's really awesome. Yeah, I think they really hit the nail on the head with it's at least going to be the most popular gift when someone's like, I've got a bird lover in my life, I want to give them this gift, you know. So I'm sure a lot of you probably got that for Christmas, you know. Or you will soon. The more they get the marketing out.
Both my daughter-in-laws got bird buddies, so of course I'm on there. You know, I follow their bird feeder, and it's squirrels. Squirrels, just pretty much. They have squirrels.
They have squirrels,
but
yeah.
you get this squirrel that'll be like this.
It's just fun, you know. It's just fun to see what's happening out there in nature, and they hit the nail on the head with that. So
I put sunflower seed in mine, so as not to encourage squirrels.
Yeah.
It's not to like the safflower.
Oh, that's cool. That's a good idea.
Yeah, though the cardinals like that, and you know.
Well, so nice to see you all today. I'm glad we got to spend this time together. And I think is today or is it next week Martin Luther King Day? Or is that coming up next week? Okay, we're still going to do a sit. I think we're done with some of the major holidays, but that's our next holiday. But I'll still be here, just so you all know. So yeah, good to see you all, and looking forward to seeing everyone next week. Thanks so much for joining. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. See you. Yeah.